too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do want to hear this, and you want to hear this, the 51st episode of the AZ Snakepit Video Roundtable. I'm Clefo. I'm joined by Fabian Ardaya and the Socos at current. We're going to talk about Diamondbacks. I'm going to drink some Darjeeling because I'm fancy like that. And, yeah. So I think first off, just to get right down to it, for the briefest of moments, maybe something like 16, 17 hours, the Diamondbacks were not in last place in the NL West for the first time ever in 2014. But thanks to them avoiding a sweep against the Padres today, that is not the case anymore. But I guess in a season that's more or less lost, do you think that the Diamondbacks could finish ahead of the Padres or even the Rockies, who they're 2 games behind at the moment of?
Yeah, the door's open. I mean, it's 2 games behind Colorado. It's 1 game behind San Diego. They have a road trip against Pittsburgh and Atlanta, which could be tough to finish out. But just to imagine the different series between Colorado and San Diego, I think there is a chance for us to climb out, especially if we keep playing 500 ball, which we have in these last couple months.
Yeah, I certainly think it's possible. At this point, it's not a good team, not a great team, but a large part of our terrible record is going to be driven by that terrible first month. So after 3 months of baseball, we've managed to catch up to both the Padres and the Rockies. They must be considerably worse than we are. So over the long run, I would anticipate we're going to pass them, and we will feel good about ourselves because we'll be in 3rd place, even though we'll still probably have a 90-loss season.
It reminds me of Mr. 3000 with the Brewers trying to climb their way to 3rd place and spending that entire last month just priding themselves on 3rd place.
Yeah.
And I think with the roster as currently constructed, there is a chance for us to climb to that 3rd place spot by the end of the season, but the unpredictable factor is who the Diamondbacks are going to shop in July and who's going to leave. And you've already seen the beginning of the multitude of roster moves that Arizona is going to make just in these next couple months, let alone in September and when the season ends.
Yeah, I think that 3rd place in the NL West at the beginning of the season wouldn't have surprised me. I guess it's sort of surprising if it came about in this way, because I would have expected like 3rd of the NL West. Oh, you're 78 and 84 or something like that. So it's like okay, I can see that happening, but yeah, there might be like 3 90-loss teams in the NL West, and that's exciting. That might not be the
Back
right
in the
word.
good old days, the NL worst.
Well,
Yeah.
at least, I don't know. Yeah, being behind the Padres is kind of like the most humiliating feeling ever. If we could just, I will put out there this good vibe and hope that it comes back, that the Dodgers just have the worst month to make up for that epically great month last year, and then somehow we become second in the NL worst, and life is good.
So over like a 50-game stretch, they go 2-48 or something stupid.
Yes,
That'd be amazing.
it would be amazing, and Puig would just cry, and I would be very happy.
I'm trying to find an object in here I can flip like a bat just for. Oh, here, pen flip. You didn't see that. That was not on camera. But yeah, fortunately for our sanities, the Giants have been. It's kind of been the Giants that have been doing that, and as of right now, the Dodgers are actually in 1st place as of today. So abandon all hope. All is lost. But yeah, it feels like that from people who know way more than I do. This next draft class is particularly deep, so there's no, finishing 3rd in the NL West will probably get you like the 4th picks. So it's still a good draft pick, so you don't have to worry about that. There is a bit of, you can call it pride, you can call it just playing it out the best you can. But yeah, we gotta get ahead of the Padres. The Padres just fired their GM, who was our old GM, and now they want our current GM, apparently, who was their old GM. So it's just a weird, as the world turns, state of affairs with them. So you gotta finish above them.
Well, it depends. We'll see what happens in September. Who knows? Kevin Towers might pull his best NBA impression and try to tank that final month, see if we can move up that 1 spot. one spot might not mean much with how deep this draft class might be, but if you want to get yourself one of the top couple picks, you might have to do it.
And there have been times this season where there's hasn't needed to intentionally tank because who lordy, this team can be quite not great sometimes. But I actually do want to, since I just mentioned it sort of glibly now, the rumor like sort of persists and that there is apparently like fire to it is that the Padres, after firing Josh Burns and replacing him with AJ Hinch, again, an old manager of ours, stop stealing our good ideas, San Diego, and our bad ones too. They apparently want KT back, which is like, my only reaction is,
Take him. Take him
okay.
now.
It's like, I'm not going to question why, but here.
Well, Kevin Towers specializes in rebuilding, and that's sort of what got him into trouble in recent years is he keeps trying to rebuild a roster that's already been rebuilt. So for that, I think he might be a decent fit for the Padres. The complicated thing about that is Padres are still going to be looking for a general manager. I'm not sure they're going to be looking intensely throughout the rest of the season. I think they're just fine with AJ Hinch for the rest of the season as they feel it's a lost season anyways. And it's too far along the season for a general manager to really have that much of an impact beyond the trade deadline. But there's no way that the Padres could interview Kevin Towers, and they'd have to bring in other candidates before Kevin Towers is either fired by the Diamondbacks or the Padres and Diamondbacks engage in internal discussions to involve a compensation type of deal.
What would you take to ship Kevin Towers over to San Diego?
I would take 2 sandwiches and a bucket of ice cream
And a player to be named later.
a player to be named later that is not referencing our son.
Okay, well, what kind of ice cream?
I would take coconut almond ice cream, which would kill me. I'm allergic to coconuts and almond. I don't care. Just get rid of KT. He annoys me. His face makes me want to punch things.
Is there such a thing as coconut almond ice cream in that sort of synergy
Well,
mixed together?
whenever there's like a soy, and whenever there's an alternative to like regular ice cream, it has either coconut or almond in it, which means I can't have it, which means it sucks.
You almost get there if you have a German chocolate cake style ice cream.
Except for the coconut.
No, what I'm saying is that would already have the coconut and it would have nuts. It just, German chocolate cake normally doesn't have almonds. They have walnuts.
Okay, I would take death ice cream if someone would take KT away from us.
That
So,
is
like,
a position.
Death ice cream to me, it sounds like just ice cream, but it has, that sort of worst case scenario Halloween candy,
That's
like
a-
razor blades and like caltrops inside. That kind of thing.
The nightmare of suburban moms everywhere.
Yeah, that was. I remember that was a big thing when I was a kid. That's like, oh no, somehow crazy people will be able to take candy out of its packaging, put razor blades inside of it so perfectly and then reseal the packaging.
Fabian, was that an urban legend during your generation time area? Like, did you?
No, I didn't have
No
to
razor
really
blades
do
and
it.
apples.
No.
Razor blades. I'm rolling that right
We
now.
used to have to take ours to the hospital to get x-rayed. My mom actually did that twice.
This sounds more like your mom is just incredibly paranoid. My mom did not do this.
Your mom didn't love you.
She stopped letting me go trick-or-treating after, like, age 8.
She didn't love you. I trick-or-treated till I was 18.
Man.
To just wrap that tangent, I'm looking at Stokes right now and apparently that is a thing that happened, the razor blades and apples. But apparently it was mostly like a bunch of not some blades, but also like pins in apples, kind of thing.
So really, you should be super suspicious if someone's giving out apples on Halloween.
This is true. It's like it's sort of not in the class of that guy who gives out toothbrushes or something. Because that
Yeah.
person just...
It's above toothbrushes and Jack Chick religious tracks, but not much.
I
Yeah.
had a Jehovah's Witness forget that it was Halloween, so he gave me all the change in his pocket.
That's the best trick-or-treat house ever.
It was only like 75 cents.
It doesn't matter.
I know, but he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "It's Halloween." He's like, "Oh, well, okay." And he reached in his pocket and he gave me 75 cents.
That's fantastic.
That was my childhood.
Anyway, yeah, we will take an apple with a dull razor blade with tetanus on it for Kevin Towers, San Diego. So just think about that. The thing that kind of surprises me about that, if San Diego were to take Kevin Towers back, is that they fired him in the first place, obviously, and it just seemed like would be such a weird, vaguely like tone deaf-ish move for them to make on a PR standpoint. I don't care if they do because I think it's funny and I want to watch them burn. But just from an outside perspective, it's like, why would you ever do that?
Even for a baseball perspective, I'm not sure how it really fits because Kevin Towers has been known for being a guy who repairs bullpens, and San Diego's bullpen and their pitching staff overall has actually been what's kept them afloat this season. It's been their offense, which has been historically bad. So it's really that's what they need to sort of target.
And you can't look at our team's offense the last few years and say, man, this is a guy who knows how to put that together. It's just, it seems like a terrible choice.
The kind of funny thing is the Padres have a really good bullpen. That was more or less built by Josh Burns, and his sort of Achilles heel when he was here was having the Bob Howeries and more than Juan Gutierrez's of the world showing up the back end of the bullpen. So strange times.
Good times.
Yeah.
Either way, I'd still imagine that the Padres either interview someone in-house or bring in an outside candidate outside of Towers who can actually be available to interview. And I think that would probably give them an advantage over any advantage Towers would have, although there is the familiarity of having Towers already been your GM.
Yeah.
Well, and if we got rid of KT, like, would LaRussa take his job? I mean, what kind of situation would go with that?
I don't think they really been clear about any of that, but it kind of makes it sound like, if you're the chief baseball officer and you control all the baseball operations, even if you're not doing everything, you're signing off on all of it, so you're the de facto GM. So even if they hire someone and give that title, LaRussa effectively is the GM at this point.
I would really sort of compare that to the Phil Jackson situation again in New York, where basically Phil Jackson got to choose his own guy, and he's probably going to be able to pick his own guy to be the general manager should Kevin Towers leave. It might be someone in the St. Louis Cardinals organization or Dave Duncan, who's already a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization.
Feeling it's going to be kind of a scenario where the GM, whoever it will be, whether it's Kevin Towers or someone else, they may go out and they'll look around and they'll find, okay, well, maybe this is a deal we want to do, or this is a player we want to pursue. But ultimately it has to go and get LaRussa's signature off of it, and they're probably not going to have a whole lot of leeway unless it is someone that's handpicked by LaRussa where they're just in lockstep with their plan. So I wouldn't be surprised if, even though there will be someone with that title assumingly making decisions, because LaRussa is likely going to have to sign off on everything, then at that point it's only a title. The real power is with LaRussa.
Follow the money, sheeple. But
they tore down that parking garage. They're going to make it into a housing development.
Which one?
The parking garage where Woodward met Deep Throat.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm talking about baseball. Of course I should have thought about Deep Throat.
He said follow the money.
Yeah, and I was the one who made the reference. I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh, that parking garage. Okay, that makes sense. I get the historical reference.
where they met. It's being torn down to turn into condos. American dream, right there.
America. But yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to watch. It seems like KT at this point is effectively defanged because of, as you pointed out, everything has to have the Russo's signature on it. It's like they sort of found a way to fire him without actually firing him, and maybe going into like weird buyout stuff with his mysterious contract.
Yeah.
But to change gears just a slightly little bit, the big story today was that Chris Owings, with his shoulder problems that have been bothering him, because there are problems with his shoulder, for a bit, went on the DL, and then we called up Nick Ahmed, who, as you may recall, was a shortstop acquired as a minor league piece in the Justin Upton trade last year. And he went like 1 for 3. He had a few plays at shortstop, so small sample size. But what I kind of want to get to is that if you recall the all-test shortstops meme, that's kind of become a reality for the Diamondbacks now. What would you do with this sort of middle infielder surplus, including, say, Aaron Hill and Chad Pennington? I said Chad on purpose, don't correct me. What would you do about that by the time the season ends or going into the offseason? Because there's clearly a glut of that while there are deficiencies at other places, i.e. pitching and left field.
Well, that already opens up the door that was already slightly open for Aaron Hill to get traded. I think he's a guy that might draw a lot of interest from a contender. He's on a very good contract to move, very easy to manage. He's in the middle of a bit of a down year this year, but still his value is high around Major League Baseball. He's an established second baseman, a solid glove, above average bat. I think he's the guy to move, and then you have to move either Didi or if you keep Ahmed up to second base. And I think Cliff Pennington might be on his way out too, although he sort of fulfills that little utility infielder role for them. And
you can't get rid of the team bicycle.
Well, you can also see Martin Prado on his way out as well. He sort of has shown himself to not really live up to the expectations after the Justin Upton trade. He might be on his way out as well. He's a guy that is valued around the league for his ability to get on base, his ability to play a lot of different positions, has played every single infield position, also spent a season in left field while with Atlanta. So he's a guy that could easily be on the move, easily movable, and probably will draw a lot of interest, and that could easily see Didi move to second base or third base, and whatever happens to Nick Ahmed, whether it's him staying in the major leagues or him shifting positions, it becomes a lot easier to do.
Fabian, you're absolutely rational and logical, but you're breaking my heart with all this trade talk, dude. Just to let you know.
You're tearing me apart.
Tearing me apart, Lisa. I mean, if that's the logical, or probably the easiest way to deal with the all shortstop situation, move Prado, move Hill, dump Pennington, and just play all three of them in some sort of way, third, shortstop, and second, or platooning some of them, either Owings and.
You're not getting rid of Owings.
I'm not saying platooning. Not trading, platooning. But that might be one way to do it, especially because then you can move those players and get more pieces back to develop in the system and hope that they work out as well, and just essentially get as many guys through the system to grind out and see how it works out.
And I personally think in cases of guys like Prado and Hill, you might have to maybe take not the greater prospects you want to dump if you want to dump all the salary, or you have to eat some of the salary to get someone you might think has a long-term future. So you sort of, I think you kind of have to weigh that, because I think everyone else in Major League Baseball knows that the Diamondbacks are not operating at a really sense of like strength, because Prado still has multiple years left, Hill still has multiple years left. Even though Prado's not really on a friendly contract, Hill more so, I would say, yeah. But other teams know that, so they'll try to try to give up as little as possible for those guys. But it might be just worth saying, it might just be worth just to dump these guys for, not nothing, but maybe less, but get their salaries off the books and just sort of hit the reset button, build around guys like Goldschmidt, Owings, and Pollock when he comes back for the future. As far as your lineup is concerned, I think that's something to consider. Just throwing that out there.
Well, speaking of trade discussions, I heard Gerardo Parra has been a guy around the league for the last couple of years that has been intriguing and not really someone they've been really ready to pull the trigger on, but he's someone that intrigues a lot of teams. He has a great glove, great arm, one of the best arms in the majors, and what everyone says has held him back in the majors from being an everyday starter up until the season has been his bat, but if you look statistically, he's actually 7th all-time in Diamondbacks history in hits, and he's catching up on that list. He might catch Justin Upton in the next couple of years if he keeps producing at the same level. So I think, personally, I feel that we should keep Gerardo Parra. He's definitely a piece that we can build around a 2-time Gold Glover. It's more building around those other middle infield prospects, but Parra needs to stay on the roster, in my opinion.
It'd be nice to keep Parra. It'd be nice to keep Pollock. Those are some guys that you could probably build around. Same with these younger middle infield guys. And Montero's turned it around this year. I don't think he's still going to live up to his contract, but at least he's been decent. He hasn't been last year. So there's certainly some pieces. It just kind of feels like unless some of the minor league pitchers can come up and contribute, especially to the rotation, it seems like they're going to have to put a lot of money and a lot of work into figuring that out because it's bad.
Is it just me, or does it feel like every year has been like a fire sale lately?
For the Diamondbacks?
For the Diamondbacks.
Well, fire sale would mean that they're getting rid of guys to start over, and they haven't really done that.
It just feels like
But they like trading a lot.
They do like trading a lot, which is really hard on me.
I'm sorry.
And I think that they should take that into account.
I agree. I think they should take your emotional stability into account.
I know. Yeah. I'm going to cry.
I honestly think that's sort of underrepresented. That's, you know what I mean, in baseball and other sports, trades and stuff. It's like emotional well-being. Yeah. We could dump this guy, but I know of one person in Mesa who would be kind of sad, and they buy a lot of ice cream, and that ice cream might have pins and razor blades in it, so let's not go through with this trade.
I had to put up with Brandon Bowling going to the Calgary Flames today, so please don't make fun of trading.
I'm not. I was hitting on two big issues. But yeah, it does seem like there's a lot of pieces to be sold, because I think, I personally think the Diamondbacks should kind of hit the reset button, because at least offensively there are pieces to build off of. Like I said, Goldschmidt, like Owings, if he gets healthy again and keeps up that level of production, and AJ Pollock. And you mentioned Parra. It's like I think with Parra, you kind of know what he is at this point, and you keep him around because the outfield is just like blah, but at the same time, you don't say no to anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you take Parra at face value at this point, I think what he has been for 2 or 3 years, and what Gibson has not really seen until this year out of a need, is that Parra is a solid, an average to almost above average everyday outfielder, above average glove for sure, a little underrated with his bat, a little questionable with his base running, but one of the best arms in baseball, and what he brings to your ball club is either a below average 1-hitter, solid 2-hitter, and he thrived a couple years ago in that 7-8 hole.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Parra's not part of any fire sale, but you don't automatically say, if someone comes like, "Hi, we're the Minnesota Twins. We're going to give you Byron Buxton for Gerardo Parra," we don't go, "No, screw you, go to hell," and hang up because you still use a pantomimed landline phone. Mm-hmm. because
Is that something that's going to make sense in a couple of years?
I don't think it makes sense now. If you if you do that to a kid, they get confused.
Do they?
Yeah,
Our kids aren't old enough to really do that too, because they wouldn't understand the whole context of it.
Yeah, Henry hands me cell phones like that, like pretend phones like that, like cell phone. So,
Youth is ruining America.
Rare.
get off my mom.
It's the same, like, movies still show answering machines when the vast majority of people are not going to use an answering machine.
It's always the answering machine that talks out loud, which I don't think has been used since 1997.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you always check your messages through voicemail.
Right.
Mm.
Yep.
Yep, them good old days when we had to use the internet, because when you use the internet, the phone wasn't able to use it. Your mom got mad at you because, I don't know.
Unless you used it late at night when she was asleep. I know you're calling.
No, my sister used to get mad at me even if I used it late at night, because what if one of her friends needed to call her at 3 in the morning while I was downloading stuff off Napster?
You know, that's probably not something you want to admit.
Ah, statute of limitation. Shut your
I was
face.
going to say, statute of limitations probably passed on Napster.
I think for downloading, I think it's 10 years.
Yeah, so that was... Oh my god, let's not say the age. It was
long enough.
Fabian's lifetime ago.
It might be close.
18 years.
Yeah. Napster is not 18 years old.
I was 13 years old when I was using...
Napster is not 18 years old.
Napster was like early 2000s, so no.
No, Napster came out, I believe, in like 1998. Because
my sister was at college.
And my sister was at college, and both of our sisters started college in 1998.
Fabian, what year were you born?
97.
Ooh, in your face.
In your face.
Anyways. Almost as old. I'm sure there are questions in the comment section.
Yeah, let's answer questions. So we don't...
Are there? Because I actually don't have it open, which is a bad move on my part, but because I'm really professional, and there aren't any comments, so screw you guys. No, I'm sorry, I laughed out.
We need to argue about the dates of...
Or we can talk about football. I mean, it's been going on. Go USA. USA is going to be there on Tuesday. We're playing...
Oh, yeah. How you all enjoying the footy soccer ball going on? I'm enjoying it a lot.
I think I would prefer... I mean, I enjoy it a lot. I like soccer a lot. And it's all good. And I hope people, especially Americans that are watching it, are like, hey, this is really interesting. Maybe we should check out Major League Soccer as well. But there's another part of me that really hopes for it to just end, because I'm sick and tired of the people that are on my team at work spending all the time talking about World Cup instead of doing their damn jobs.
I'm just excited that we got out of Group G, because I hated hearing people treat us like the younger, dumb cousin who was forced to play. Or like, Mom said we had to let America play. But no, we got out of Group G, and we got out of the group of death, and screw Ghana and screw Portugal, even though they have very hot Cristiano Ronaldo on it.
I'm sure we have our own hotties, Liz.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Get it.
the U.S. advanced in this sort of scenario when I remember I watched the draw because I don't work during the day on weekdays. You
got one of the hippie jobs.
Yeah, I got one of the hippie night jobs. But no, I was like, okay, beat God, draw Portugal, then Germany will take care of itself. And that's what happened. So throwing darts on the board prediction-wise sometimes works.
I think USA has a shot against Belgium. Belgium has been tagged as a dark horse contender since before the World Cup, since the draw, because they got a fairly easy draw. If you look at their midfield and their forwards, it's basically a who's who of who's starring in the English Premier League this this past season. And I think that they've really underachieved in this World Cup despite winning their 3 matches. I think that they have a chance to potentially be worse than Ghana, Portugal, or Germany were for the United States, which I think makes them vulnerable for this round of 16 matchup. Although I think in the quarterfinals they're going to face my Argentina team, who is going to really, I think, step up in these knockout stages. So I don't think our USA's road continues after the quarterfinals.
So what you're saying is,
didn't play in the group of death. We did. So,
but what you're saying is, if the United States should make the quarterfinals, things might get messy.
Very messy. Very messy.
So wait, Fabian, are you going to school to get like a degree in sports journalism?
Yeah, I actually am. Yeah.
Because you're really, really like good with all of this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Whereas we just saw I'm good with terrible, terrible plots. So am I really good with that or just skilled?
Well, if you want to talk about psychology or raising children, I am an expert.
I know. I like cheeseburgers.
Let's just let Fabian talk.
Well, yeah,
Roundtable if it's just one person.
It's more of a yelling at the wall kind of situation if it's just one person. But yeah, I think U.S. could beat Belgium because I know for a fact that Afros and a number of them are not really a soccer skill, so they don't have that advantage over us, even though they do. That's the one thing I remember from watching Belgium. It's like 5 guys with Afros. What's going on? But yeah, it could happen. I was not too sad to see Mexico go out today, even through the circumstances in which they did, because America.
My stepmother
Well,
from Mexico.
U.S.
so...
are the reason, remember, that Mexico even made it into the World Cup. If it wasn't for Graham Zusi, Mexico wouldn't even be here. So.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel bad for Mexico. I mainly feel anger towards the Mexican team only when the U.S. is playing against them. But given the close proximity, and I spent a lot of my childhood watching Mexican soccer teams, that I don't have a tremendous amount of hatred. Plus, I think it helps that for a good portion of my life, we've either been able to at least play at their level, have that sort of underdog feeling against Mexico that I think some soccer fans that are a little bit older have.
I just feel bad for my step-abuela.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, yeah, screw Mexico.
Well, Netherlands really
What?
Netherlands really underachieved in that game until about the 80th minute when Mexico was up 1-0. They looked like they thought they had won it already, and basically I think they fell asleep in those last 10 minutes, and I feel like Netherlands earned their way to at least an equalizer, and then they kept pushing after that, and eventually they earned themselves that penalty. Even if you're going to argue that call on the penalty kick that Netherlands got, there was one non-call that could have gone Netherlands' way for a penalty as well in that stoppage time period. It was just one of those calls had to go Netherlands' way, and one of them did.
I'd rather face Mexico, though, in the semis than the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be a great problem to have to face the Netherlands in the semis.
Well, it's going to happen, so...
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yep.
But
The thing with the Netherlands is they always have talent, and they always play well in the early stages. It's just when are they going to turn on each other, and that's been the tradition for them in every World Cup. And Costa Rica, they got out by the grit of their nail by grit, which Kevin Towers I'm sure loved.
Biggest Tico fan ever now.
And they're a team that's played well and has learned that they had to fight for certain wins, but they, when at full strength, have proven that they can score and counterattack, which could, I don't know, make at least some window of an upset against the Netherlands. Although Greece would have had more luck trying to beat Netherlands to submission than trying to beat them in soccer.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm also not sad about Greece going out, but not for any like rivalry reasons. Mostly because, dear God, they're a just horrid team to watch. Just because they just.
It would have been amazing though if they had made it much farther.
Well,
Because it's terrible to watch them, but it's
Mhm.
also that sort of beautiful terrible where you can't stop watching.
It's like smelling gasoline.
What?
what?
Smelling gasoline. You don't want to continue to do it, but then you
I don't think I've
continue.
gone out of my way to smell gasoline.
Does anyone else have that? Where like you hate the smell, but then you still kind of.
I'm just trying to admit that's gasoline addiction here.
Am I crazy?
I think it smells pretty awful, and I don't go out of my way to smell it.
Oh, great.
Man, when I just huff diesel, feel alive.
No, I mean the whole thing is like you don't like the smell,
Mm-hmm.
but then like
Feels good, man.
I hate you guys. Never mind.
Well, I get what you're saying, but still a little bit of an odd reference.
Never mind. Hey, the Red Sox just beat the Yankees.
I guess.
Yay, two teams that aren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, probably not. Actually, I'm not sad about that either.
Aren't the Yanks only like a game and a half behind the Blue Jays?
That's a weird sentence to hear.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah,
This
because
was 1991.
but it's not
I'm saying.
because
Blue Jays weren't always terrible.
if it was 1991, it'd be like, wait, how are we doing this thing we are doing right now?
How are we connected through?
Internet was alive in 1991,
But
dude.
there was no way that people were sending video chat,
Yeah, no.
not in commercially available, and vast majority of people had no access to the internet. It was pretty much through colleges and military installations.
And my dad.
And your dad. Your dad's also a spy, so
There he is.
it makes sense.
Now we're gonna have to kill them all.
Oh, crap!
Well, on that bombshell. Actually, yeah, just looking at time, I think we're about close to wrapping up. But do any of you guys want to throw something out there, Diamondbacks or otherwise? That's a final word, a final hot take. Just gotta get it off like hot cakes, and I'm not talking about breakfast.
I think we're past the date of Kirk Gibson being fired this season. I don't think there's really a point in firing him after about the first couple weeks of July. I think this might be a road trip to do it if they end it in horrid fashion, which I don't think they will. I think they can take at least one game from each of these couple series, and that should be good for his job security. But I think after that, he's good for at least the rest of the season, and we'll see what Tony La Russa does from there. Kevin Towers, I think, is a different story. I think anytime Tony La Russa feels that Kevin Towers might be trying to either pry power away from him again or try to make a move that he doesn't like, we could see Kevin Towers on the way out. But Kirk Gibson, I think he's good for at least the rest of 2014.
Yay!
Yeah.
I like Kirk Gibson.
But Kevin Towers.
I hate Kevin Towers.
I think I tuned into just about every one of the games this week the Diamondbacks played, at least for a little while, but I cannot remember anything from any of them. So
There were two games against Cleveland there was a past midnight game against Cleveland that was terrible too.
oh, yeah, that's right. I
Yeah,
obviously didn't stay up for that.
Kishi didn't even have to recap it. It was very
Poor
long.
Blake.
Yeah, poor Blake. We
Yeah.
love you, Blake.
Mike Bolsinger's looked very good this week. He's pitched very well in his 2 starts this week. Pitched well today, was on the losing end, but his return to the majors has been a lot better, and Chase Anderson still putting together solid starts, even though he's lost his last 3 outings, I think.
Mike Bolsinger is the one who had the cute phone call thing, right?
Yeah, that was the guy who, yeah. Right.
Oh, yay, I like him. I'm glad that he's doing well.
Yeah. He had that kind of initial jump up where he wasn't doing so hot, but it's a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, he could project it to like a 4th or 5th star kind of guy. And you know the Diamondbacks don't have enough of those.
We certainly don't. We need more.
All of them.
We need to just run out a lineup of 9 4th or 5th starters every day. It would be awesome. Along with shortstops. Just alternate between a 5th starter and a shortstop, and I think we'll be good.
That's a recipe for success. Also, recipe for success, watching this, so thank you for doing that, and watching previous episodes if you want on the Snakepit YouTube channel. This is me signing off because, we come to that point in the show. So be sure to, go to AZ Snakepit all the time. Follow it on Twitter, like it on Facebook. There's actually articles on the Facebook page now, which is awesome, which is cool. For the 4 of us, that's it. Have a good week and have a good night.
Night.